Hello, my name is Liliana Hernandez, and my partner is Giselle, and we are doing our presentation on array and area model. Now we are going to describe what exactly is this mathematical model. This is an arrangement of a set of objects in equal groups in rows and columns. It is a representation of either a multiplication equation or repeated addition. This is often represented with visuals, such as drawings, or hands-on objects, such as counters or manipulatives.
Why does this mathematical model of array and area model work? Arrays are visual aids. Therefore, it makes counting easy. Now that we know that arrays are visual aids that ease counting, how does this help us overall when it comes to area models? What we come to find is that it supports students in developing an understanding of how and why multiplication works, as well as it helps us understand the relationship between multiplication and division. By using this mathematical model, us as teachers can teach the foundational concepts of multiplication and division. Begin with concrete examples. Now we will look at what that would look like in the classroom. When teaching concrete examples of array and area model, what we should be observing is the use of manipulatives, or another good example would be to physically move our bodies. Here we can see some examples of what this would look like in our classroom. On the right, we can see that there is some square tiles. We can use those to show an array as well as an area model. We have the area model tray, which is something that we could ask to buy. We also have some Legos. Those are a little more accessible and easier to find. Or we can use a graph paper with some dot stickers as manipulatives.
Example of how this can be used in a word problem. For the problem, Jack has 2 plates. Each plate has 5 cookies. How many cookies does Jack have? Students can then use this visual aid and hands-on activity to be able to help them solve the problem. By using the manipulatives, they're able to apply real world and hands-on learning to help solve this. They're able to count out each cookie with the 5 counters and then being able to group them to help them better understand math concepts such as repeated addition, multiplication, and even division later on in that subject.
Next step would be to do semi-concrete models. Now let's take a look at what that would look like. At this point, we are stepping away from manipulatives and hands-on activities. So with semi-concrete, what it would look like, instead of manipulatives, we have drawings or harsh marks of representation. Students here can also use a graph paper with dot markers, with crayons, with pencils, whatever they're using to write, to do these harsh representations of arrays and area models. The graph paper is very useful because it keeps them organized instead of having to do these harsh marks randomly all over a blank sheet of paper per se. We have also provided a video that we can present to students that shows a electronic way of harsh representations.
Hello students, today I'm going to show you how to create an array and an area model, okay? Well, first of all here, you're going to see these lines that kind of look like a T. That's just a way to keep it organized because arrays and area models have to be organized in straight lines of rows and columns. That's what they are. It is an organized group of rows and columns of items put together. In this case, we're going to use squares. And you will see here, the first factor will always be your rows. The second factor will always be your columns. And your answer will be your product. I'm going to go ahead and put a little multiplication sign here to represent I'm multiplying. And then right here, I'm going to write the first factor, which is 3, and the second factor, which is 4. to help me set up my array. So then I get my square tiles and I'm going to put 3 because on this side you see 3 touching this line is a 3. That's basically setting up the beginning of your rows. Think of it like your line leaders of your rows. Then we're going to set up our columns. This square is counted for the beginning of your rows and your columns. So you're going to count this again for your columns. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this is not an array. An array has to have equal number of tiles in each row and each column. So we need to fill it in. So I'm going to fill it in. Okay, the first step is to get the line leaders of your 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 total square tiles, so my product is 12. Okay, so you have your 3. Second factor is your product. Your columns. Second factor is your columns. And your product, well, we already know our product, but we want to set it up right. All right, so I'm going to use red for this one. This is how it works. So I'll have my 3 first. Do you see the difference? Area models are basically going to be closed rectangles or squares. It's always closed. They're always going to be squares or rectangles. While arrays can be any type of object arranged in rows and columns. So in
This mathematical model can also be used through drawings. They can take what they have learned in the concrete section by using visual aids to physically represent a problem, to now creating those aids on their own by applying it to drawings. They can group or multiply or divide or use repeated addition to represent these equations. This preps them and helps them grow in their understanding to now move on to the abstract.
Our goal when introducing any kind of mathematical model is to reach the abstract part. At this point, we have done the concrete examples, we have done semi-concrete examples. Now we need to transition from these representations to actual equations. Here we see that students should be able to solve multiplication problems, area problems with the use of equations. We're moving away from having the help of manipulatives or harsh representations and simply just seeing these equations and being able to solve them. When it comes to area model, understanding that we need to multiply one side with the other to find the answer.
Now it is your turn to put this mathematical model into practice. For our activity, we are doing a real-world array scavenger hunt. Step 1 falls under the concrete section, where you'll walk around your house and take photos of 3 real arrays. Whether it's in your room, living room, or kitchen, you will take a picture of an array that you find. For example, the egg carton has 2 rows with 3 eggs in each row. The bookshelf has 4 sections with 6 books in each section. And the muffin tin has 2 rows of 3 muffin sections in each one. Now for step 2, it falls under the abstract section, where for each picture that you take, you will write down and count your rows, columns, and write the multiplication equation that represents it. Now for step 3, you'll present your findings on the Padlet below. There is a QR code, and you can scan it with your phone to post your arrays.
In conclusion, what we hope we have achieved today is that you all now as teachers feel prepared to teach this mathematical model, which was array and area model, in your classrooms more effectively and efficiently, so that our students understand that there is a clear connection between understanding how to do arrays and how that connects to area model.